Hello, welcome to Ive's channel. Today, we will learn about the shocking issue of Maggie Kiriaki's fainting after a heated confrontation with Xander and being rushed to the hospital, leaving Sarah absolutely furious at Xander for provoking her mother into such a dangerous state. Xander's dangerous threat. The tension in Salem reaches a boiling point during the week of October 27th to 31st as Xander Kiriakis finds himself backed into a corner by Maggie Kiriakis. After Sarah finally learned the devastating truth that Xander was the one who brutally attacked Philip Kiriakis, Maggie wastes no time confronting her son-in-law about his violent actions. The confrontation takes place at the Kiriakis' mansion, where Maggie, filled with righteous anger and determination, threatens to do everything in her power to ensure Xander faces justice and goes to prison for what he did to Philip. However, Xander is not one to back down easily, and he fires back with a chilling warning that sends shockwaves through the family. He coldly reminds Maggie that if she follows through with her threat and he ends up behind bars, Philip will be going right alongside him. Philip's guilty secrets. Xander's counterattack is calculated and ruthless, as he reveals that Philip is far from innocent in this entire mess. Philip has committed his own share of crimes and deceptions that could land him in serious legal trouble. Xander makes it crystal clear that if Maggie pushes forward with getting him arrested, he will make sure that all of Philip's dirty secrets and criminal activities are exposed to the Salem Police Department. This means that Maggie's beloved nephew Philip would face serious consequences and potentially years behind bars as well. The threat is designed to make Maggie think twice about her actions, as she would essentially be sacrificing Philip's freedom to punish Xander. Xander's warning creates an impossible situation for Maggie, who must now weigh her desire for justice against the potential destruction of another family member's life. Maggie collapses from stress. The confrontation between Maggie and Xander becomes increasingly heated as neither one is willing to back down from their position. The stress and emotional toll of the situation, combined with the impossible choice Xander has forced upon her, becomes too much for Maggie to handle. As Xander continues to press his advantage and make it clear that he will drag Philip down with him if necessary, Maggie's face turns pale and she begins to feel dizzy and disoriented. The rage and frustration coursing through her body, mixed with the anxiety of potentially having to choose between justice for one family member and protection for another, causes her blood pressure to spike dangerously. Before anyone can react or catch her, Maggie suddenly faints and collapses to the floor in the middle of the Kiriakis' living room. The sight of the beloved matriarch crumpling to the ground sends everyone in the mansion into panic mode, with family members rushing to her side to check if she's breathing and responsive. Emergency hospital rush. The moment Maggie hits the floor, chaos erupts throughout the Kiriakis' mansion as family members scramble to help her. Someone immediately calls 911. And within minutes, paramedics arrive at the estate to assess Maggie's condition. They quickly determine that her vital signs are unstable and that she needs immediate medical attention at University Hospital. Maggie is carefully placed on a stretcher, with an oxygen mask secured over her face as the medical team works to stabilize her during transport. The ambulance races through the streets of Salem with sirens blaring, carrying the unconscious Maggie to the emergency room where doctors are standing by to receive her. Upon arrival at the hospital, Maggie is wheeled into an examination room where medical staff begin running a battery of tests to determine what caused her sudden collapse. Blood pressure readings, EKGs, and various other diagnostic procedures are performed as doctors work frantically to assess the extent of the damage and ensure that Maggie hasn't suffered a heart attack or stroke. Sarah's explosive rage. When Sarah learns that her mother has been rushed to the hospital after collapsing during a confrontation with Xander, her fury reaches unprecedented levels. Sarah is already devastated and enraged by Xander's confession that he was the one who attacked Philip, ending their marriage for what she believes is the final time. Now, discovering that Xander's threatening behavior and manipulation have literally caused her mother to collapse adds an entirely new dimension to her anger. Sarah storms through the hospital corridors, her emotions barely contained as she processes the fact that Xander's actions have now put not just Philip but also her own mother in danger. She can't believe that Xander would stoop so low as to threaten Maggie with exposing Philip's crimes, essentially holding her family hostage to protect himself from facing the consequences of his violent attack. The realization that Xander's selfishness and criminal behavior have directly caused Maggie's medical emergency makes Sarah see him in an entirely new light. Brady's support system. During this incredibly difficult time, Brady Black steps up to provide Sarah with much-needed emotional support and an outlet for her overwhelming rage. Understanding that Sarah is drowning in anger, betrayal, and fear for her mother's health, Brady takes her to a rage room where she can safely release all of the toxic emotions building up inside her. He explains to Sarah that she needs to let go of all her fury by smashing everything in sight, and that's exactly what she proceeds to do. Sarah unleashes months of pent-up frustration, heartbreak, and anger toward Xander as she demolishes everything in the rage room with explosive force. Each swing of the bat and every shattered object represents another lie Xander told, another betrayal he committed, and ultimately the fact that his threatening behavior nearly killed her mother. Brady watches supportively as Sarah works through her emotions in this physical way, knowing that she needs this cathartic release before she can begin to think clearly about what comes next. The impossible choice. As Maggie recovers in her hospital bed, surrounded by worried family members, the weight of Xander's threat continues to hang over everyone's heads. Maggie must now grapple with an impossible decision that will affect multiple people she loves deeply. If she follows through with her original plan to ensure Xander faces criminal charges for attacking Philip, she will be simultaneously condemning Philip to potential prison time as well. The thought of Philip suffering legal consequences for his own mistakes is almost as unbearable as the idea of letting Xander walk free after what he did. Maggie lies in her hospital bed, pale and exhausted from her ordeal, as she contemplates whether there is any way out of this nightmare scenario that Xander has created. Family members hover around her bedside, including Sarah, who makes it clear that she supports whatever decision Maggie makes, but also expresses her deep anger that Xander put them all in this position in the first place. Sarah's final decision. Sarah has already made one thing perfectly clear: she is done with Xander for good this time. After taking him back following Philip's attack, only to discover that Xander was the attacker all along, Sarah feels like the ultimate fool. Now, with her mother lying in a hospital bed because of Xander's threatening behavior, Sarah's resolve to divorce Xander and remove him from her life completely has only strengthened. She corners Philip in the hospital and blasts him for lying about his attacker's identity, because if Philip had been honest from the beginning, she never would have reconciled with Xander and set herself up for this devastating heartbreak. Despite Philip's apologies and his urging that she should forgive Xander since he himself has moved past the attack, Sarah refuses to budge from her position. She has witnessed too much of Xander's dark side and his capacity for violence and manipulation to ever trust him again. The fact that his actions have now endangered her mother's health is simply the final nail in the coffin of their marriage. Family fallout continues. The aftermath of Maggie's collapse and hospitalization sends ripples throughout the entire Kyriakis family, forcing everyone to take sides and examine their own relationships with Xander. Xander, for his part, refuses to take full responsibility for what happened to Maggie, instead choosing to blame her for confronting him in the first place. He accuses Maggie of setting the marriage-ending fight with Sarah in motion by forcing him to confess the truth about attacking Philip. This deflection of responsibility only makes Sarah angrier, as she watches Xander try to paint himself as the victim when he is clearly the architect of this entire disaster. Maggie, meanwhile, makes it clear from her hospital bed that she has no regrets about exposing Xander's deception before Sarah got in too deep with him again. She loves Sarah too much to stand by and watch her daughter build a life with a man capable of such violence and manipulation. The family remains divided on how to handle Xander's threats regarding Philip, with some believing that justice must be served regardless of the cost, while others argue that protecting Philip should be the priority. Will Sarah and Maggie ultimately decide to leave Xander alone to avoid the consequences of his threats against Philip? Or will they find a way to ensure that Xander faces justice for his crimes without sacrificing Philip in the process? Only time will tell how this explosive situation will resolve itself in the coming weeks. Audience reactions to Days of Our Lives, when love, guilt, and forgiveness collide. The long-running soap opera Days of Our Lives continues to ignite passionate debates among viewers, especially after the recent episodes focusing on the tangled web between Xander, Sarah, Philip, and Titan Industries. Longtime fans express both sympathy and frustration, torn between caring for the characters they've followed for decades and feeling exhausted by the repetitive drama. Xander, victim or villain? Most of the comments center on Xander Kyriakis, the bad guy with a heart, who now finds himself under heavy criticism. Viewer Carmel Smith confessed, "I felt bad for Xander at first, but then I remembered how brutally he beat Philip. That scene was disgusting and hard to watch." The violent beating of Philip left a sour taste for many fans, especially since Sarah, Xander's former love, continues to suffer emotionally from his violent tendencies. Some believe Sarah has every right to leave him, as no one should stay in a relationship overshadowed by fear and aggression. However, not everyone blames Xander alone. DOOL 23 argued, all Xander's fault. Maybe if Sarah hadn't lied from the start, he wouldn't have been forced to share the CEO position with Philip, which caused the tension that led to the fight. Two camps emerge here. One believes Xander is simply reaping what he sowed, while the other sees him as a misunderstood man who keeps paying for others' mistakes. Sarah, the hypocrite or the victim? A large number of comments show clear resentment toward Sarah Horton, once beloved for her intelligence and compassion. Viewer Michelle Woods bluntly wrote, "I don't feel 1 ounce of pity for Sarah. Xander deserves someone better than that sad, self-righteous woman." Many fans label Sarah a hypocrite, claiming she constantly judges others while hiding her own lies. De1989 commented, "Marlena's therapy might help Xander, but it will never be enough for hypocrite Sarah. She always plays the victim." Still, there are those who defend her, saying that Sarah's fear of violence is genuine, and her trauma cannot be easily dismissed. As Carmel Smith noted, Sarah has an issue with the brutality of it all, and I don't blame her. Maggie and the endless cycle of forgiveness. Another major discussion revolves around Maggie Horton, who keeps meddling in her daughter's love life. Viewer SMS remarked sharply, "How many times did Maggie forgive Victor, and he never changed?" This perfectly sums up the fatigue many viewers feel toward the repetitive forgiveness trope. One fan joked, "Maggie must be drinking the same thing Jennifer Horton does, she's been terrible this week and worse next week." Audiences seem to be yearning for growth and change, not another round of hurt, cry, forgive, repeat. Amy Choi, the most controversial character right now. Aside from the Xander, Sarah drama, Amy Choi has become one of the most disliked figures. Jason wrote angrily, "I wish Leo had slapped Amy Choi for being so judgmental and homophobic toward Leo and Javi. If there's a more ignorant and arrogant character on Days, I haven't seen them." To many, Amy represents arrogance and outdated prejudice, especially regarding the baby adoption storyline involving Tesoro. Lady Sean wrote, "Amy has no say in who gets Tesoro. Her daughter gave that baby up, and her interference is out of line." The supporting characters, a glimmer of hope. Amid all the frustration, a few fans expressed excitement about new arrivals, especially Liam, played by Hank Northrup. Both Chair 6177 and Carmel Smith are eager to see him join the Salem cast, particularly since he's connected to veteran character Roman. There's also growing interest in Aaron, the baby's father. One viewer urged, Aaron needs to step up and seek legal advice. He's Tesoro's dad. He shouldn't just disappear from the story. This shows that fans still crave family-driven drama rooted in responsibility and parenthood, the kind of storytelling that originally made Days of Our Lives beloved. The writing, viewers are losing patience. Many longtime fans are openly frustrated with the show's writing. Zanny voiced what many feel: the writers are trying to get this show cancelled. As bad as Ron's chaos was, it was still better than this mess. Other viewers echoed the same sentiment, that the show feels directionless, with inconsistent character arcs and repetitive dialogue. One wrote, "It was a struggle to get through this episode. Everyone is annoying the crap out of me." Conclusion: viewers want real emotion, not manufactured drama. The overall tone of the comments reveals a powerful truth: Days of Our Lives still has a deeply engaged audience, but one that's hungry for authenticity. Viewers no longer want endless cycles of betrayal and forgiveness, they want to see real emotional evolution. Xander may be guilty, but fans are ready to forgive him, if he truly changes. Sarah may be justified in leaving, but unless she owns her own mistakes, fans won't stay on her side. In the end, what the audience wants isn't another shocking twist, but a revival of humanity, a story where those who sinned learn to redeem themselves, and those who were hurt find the courage to love again.